Commission is not acting independently, and at times it acts in a partisan manner. Now, following these criticisms, we go on an audit of the role of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and we are privileged to have Madame Ruth Sechindi. She's a lawyer and the director for monitoring and inspection at the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And Madame Ruth, I'm happy to have you on the show this evening. Thank you so much, but let's go straight to the first question to you. From your experience and in your opinion, we would want to know how you think the Commission has performed, and actually, if it was on the scale of 1 to 10, what score can you give the Uganda Human Rights Commission in relation to the execution of its constitutional mandate, and why?
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. Before I even go to the scale of Uganda Human Rights Commission's execution, I think it would be fair to Ugandans to just give them an overview of what the Uganda Human Rights Commission is and how it does its work, so that by the time I give the scale, they really appreciate where I'm coming from. The Commission is a constitutional body, or is a body established by the Constitution to protect and promote human rights. And under the Constitution, it is one of the bodies that is given the biggest mandate in this country. And I should say that the Commission is an offshoot of Uganda's turbulent history. After Uganda went through turbulence, wanton disregard of human rights, enforced disappearances, a lot of torture, persons disappearing, and the NRA went to war and came out and liberated this country. They established a committee of distinguished Ugandans who went around the country getting views. And Ugandans at the time came out and said, never again should we allow our country get to a level of lawlessness. And that was the point in which the Ugandans at the time decided to establish an institution which is the custodian of human rights and which is would provide the oversight role in regard to human rights. And when you look at Article 51, 52, 53, it establishes this institution as a national human rights institution with a very wide mandate, like I say, to protect and promote human rights. It gives it a mandate to receive and investigate complaints on human rights violation. The Commission is given a mandate to investigate human rights violation. It's given a mandate to sensitize Ugandans and create awareness on matters of human rights. It's given a mandate to conduct civic education. The Commission is equally given a mandate to educate Ugandans on how to promote the Constitution. The Commission also has an oversight mandate to monitor the level of compliance in regard to human rights standards of the treaties Uganda has ratified. The Commission equally has a mandate to review bills before Parliament and write reports, an annual report that it's supposed to table or to send to Parliament on the situation of human rights compliance in the country. The Commission also has a tribunal that hears cases relating to matters of human rights. Now, in Africa and the world over, the Commission is the only institution with a tribunal, with a human rights tribunal, that hears cases and complaints of human rights. Now, the services before the Commission are free of charge and no money changes hands. And in there, the Commission, we realize that has a lot of powers to summon any person, who believes has violated human rights, or any person who has information, powers to question any person who has information regarding human rights or any matter it's investigating, powers to commit any person, that means arresting a person for contempt of its orders, powers to, I've talked about summoning persons, powers to release persons illegally detained in any place of detention, powers to order compensation and or provide any other remedy. Now, when we look at the Commission's work, for example, we have 259 prisons in Uganda with a population of over 76,000. We have we have 259 prisons with a population of over 76,000. And we have 24,000 or so police stations and police posts. And this commission is required to monitor and inspect all these places of detention. The commission works with schools and universities to popularize and create awareness on human rights. The Commission monitors elections. We deal with business and human rights to see whether businesses and companies are complying with human rights standards. Are you paying your workers? Do they get sick leave? Do they get a protective gear in the event that they are working in risky situations? The same commission supports women and children and persons with disabilities. We look at government compliance, whether there is any discrimination. We look at issues of good governance and rule of law. We work with the judiciary just to make sure that people get fair hearing. So when we talk about human rights is very broad. And we realize that a commission with around, we have 220 staff is supposed to deal with this mandate. So on this scale that you have given me, I would give this institution 8 out of 10, because in providing a service, it has done its level best to fulfill its constitutional mandate.
Madam Luth,
to fulfill its constitutional mandate. However, the other two...
Madam Luth, looks like from what you've submitted, looks like the commission is bestowed with a huge mandate, and from the score you're giving the commission, it has actually performed more than average.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go again and look at the sentiments from a section of the public who think that the commission is usually operates in a partisan manner. And like I said in the beginning, this usually manifests during political and electoral seasons, when members of the opposition maybe have been brutalized, or some have been tortured, and they file complaints with the commission. What can you respond? What could be your response to that?
When it comes to politics, politics has very many different components. And when we are doing work, we are required to be independent, non-partisan, autonomous, and follow the law, and at all times respect human rights. Now, when it comes to the period prior elections, we note that many times there have been situations of people getting excited. It is a season where many people get excited, many people are happy, many are skeptical of what might come out. And the institution that is often looked out for is the Uganda Human Rights Commission, because it has an oversight role. On our part during the electoral process, we conduct civic education, we conduct human rights education, we create awareness, we talk about early warning, we call for peace, But you know you can't satisfy all parties. Whatever you do, sometimes people feel that you're not doing enough. What can I say when it comes to politics? Many times I have said, let us get some of these institutions out of politics so that we allow them to work, to do their work. Now, when it comes to human rights, unfortunately, we have to deal with the politics. We have to deal with situations that are not, don't involve politics. And when we listen to politicians, they're actually speaking human rights. They're calling for good health care, they're calling for education, they're calling for schools, they're calling for roads. All that is human rights. So we have no problem with that. I think that sometimes we are misunderstood. Sometimes there is excitement, sometimes the expectations are too high, and we have to manage expectations. We have challenges as an institution. The expectations many times are very high compared to the resources that we may need. If we are dealing with a population of maybe 43 million Ugandans, what is the resource base vis-a-vis the staff base of 220? So while we may aspire, or we continue aspire, to ensure that we reach 100 or 10% of the scale that has been set, many times, sometimes we fall short due to resources, due to the human resource or staffing, and due to tools of trade such as vehicles. But we try, we work within the limited resources. The other thing that I can say is that sometimes we politicize human rights. When we politicize human rights, unfortunately, we don't get the right answers. We fail to provide better analysis of the human rights situation, and we have skewed or biased perspectives. But I understand politics is really complicated. Everyone is in it to win, and for us, we have to draw a balance and be as objective as we can. But as you draw a balance and trying to be objective, there's always that side that will feel, no, maybe I have not been judged fairly. Maybe my situation has not been projected as well as I think it should have. And unfortunately, that is something that we have to live with and to work with. But in all situations, we try to make sure that we have balanced analysis. We give good advice based on the law and based on human rights standards. And at all times, we try to serve the Ugandan because we are serving Ugandans. So we try to stick to that so that we don't veer off the intention of those who created this institution.
Well, Madam Ruth, quickly, if I look at the powers of the Commission has powers to summon anyone or order production of documents. I would want quickly to hear from you for the benefit of our viewers. We have clearly witnessed victims of torture appearing, filing complaints with the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And even some of us journalists have been tortured, especially by security agencies. Do you recall of any case where the Commission summoned someone from security and possibly the case followed up to the conclusion?
What I can say is that I can't recall one, but hundreds and thousands of cases. If you just look at last year alone, we registered 4,311 cases. We received 4,311 cases and registered 384 cases. The tribunal which sat awarded 196 million shillings to different victims. Majority of the cases that were awarded related to issues of torture and the deprivation of the right to personal liberty and the right to life. And unfortunately, 90% of these cases were against state security agencies. Okay? So I cannot even begin to give you one or two, but what I'm saying is that majority of the cases that the Commission registers are against security agencies, unfortunately, and against the Attorney General, who represents government. So if you're looking at an award of 196 million shillings, and that is in 1 year, and in other years it is actually way more than that, and you're looking at a year where you're receiving more than 4,000 cases, and majority against the state, it means the Commission is doing something right. So what we do when we're receiving cases, we go to victims. We can lodge a complaint on our own initiative. Sometimes we receive letters. Sometimes, many times, people walk into our offices. We have 24 offices around this country, and people lodge complaints with us. We listen to every complaint, and on a case-by-case basis, we determine whether it is human rights. It has the human rights criteria that we use. Now, there are many people who just come for legal advice. Or I want to divorce my wife, or issues of paternity, issues of land, you know, give me legal advice. And also our services, our lawyers are free of charge. We are quick and willing to give the legal services free of charge to all the
Thank
people.
you, thank you. Thank you, Madam Ruth. Thank you, and in the interest of time, Madam Ruth, let's quickly hear from you. What could be the limitations or challenges that hinder the effective execution of the mandate of the Commission? Quickly, if you can do that in 2 minutes, please.
Okay, we have limitations as any other government institution or any other institution. We have challenges of funding, we have challenges of resources, we have challenges of outreach, but still that rotates around resources. But in the Constitution, legally, there are matters that we can't handle, and we don't handle matters of prerogative of mercy. We don't handle matters that deal with other countries or other foreign bodies. We don't handle matters that happened before establishment in before 1995. We don't handle matters, I've talked about prerogative of mercy, and we also don't handle matters pending before court. But I think our biggest challenge right now that limit issues of human rights are funding, resources, the staffing, and also lack of adequate legislation or international human rights instruments or international laws that we have not ratified. When we don't ratify these instruments, it becomes so hard to domesticate or implement them in Uganda. When we don't have relevant laws like witness protection, we don't have a national action plan on human rights, we have not yet implemented the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. When we fall short of laws and policies, then it's so hard to implement or use these laws in our country, and so it affects the human rights observance.
From me here, let me finally hear you make recommendations. What recommendations can you really provide, if at all, can the amendment in the process how the commissioners are elected somehow help make the commission more effective? Do you think it should be one of the recommendations? Because that has been actually one of the complaints, that because the president appoints, probably the independence of the commission is compromised. What could be recommendations in just 2 minutes, Madam Ruth?
I don't have a problem with appointment, because the people who are appointed into these positions are actually Ugandans. And everyone in Uganda understands the Ugandan context. If it was a foreigner who's appointed, I would say no. Any person who is willing and can serve the commission, I think can be appointed. I don't see any challenge with that. I think the challenge that I have is if you do not adequately resource the institution, if you do not adequately provide for the institution to do its work. Whether you are the best professor in Makerere University or whichever university, but you are not adequately resourced, you will not do anything. It is not the people in the office. It is the lack of the tools of trade and the lack of the facilities to enable them reach the people of Uganda. If we do the right thing to strengthen and scale this institution, I think a lot will go a long way into improving the operations of the Commission.
Well, thank you so much, Ruth Sechindi, the Director Monitoring and Inspection at Uganda Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for clearing the air on many issues that have been, of course, arising from the public in regard to the operations of the Commission. Thank you so much. We hope what we've discussed possibly will be implemented, especially the recommendation on funding and other related issues. My name is Prince Apollo. Let's catch up again next Friday in another edition of the Limelight. You've heard from the Commission. We hope for the best. It is for God and our country. Good evening, and God bless Uganda.